Welcome to Game Loft's JT Racing 2. I'd like to feature perhaps one of the best rear-wheel drive cars to learn how to drive a rear-wheel drive car in the game, the Ford GT. However, before we take a look at the Ford GT, I'd like to make two comments. First, about how I control this car, and the fact that I will not be talking over this complete video. I will not be talking when we get to the race tracks, which I'll be featuring three of. Now, here's how I've got the control set up. I've got tilt steering as indicated on the far right in the top there, and I've got sensitivity set at 7. I've experimented with sensitivity set between 4 and 8 while I was driving all-wheel drive cars, and I found it works well with the rear-wheel drive cars when you get used to the rear-wheel drive cars. There are three rear-wheel drive cars I found exceptionally good at handling that taught me how to drive rear-wheel drive cars without steering assist. I did not get around to driving rear-wheel drive cars in the game predominantly until I got to A class. The Ford GT is the least expensive of the three. The other two are the McLaren and the W Motors Hypersport, which is an S-Class car. The Hypersport will pay out a little more than the Ford GT or the McLaren. The Ford GT, which sells for 1.4 million of the game's cash coin currency, the yellow currency, is 1/3 the price of the McLaren, and it can earn just as much. The Ford GT is available in multiple bright colors, or a dark color with bright contrasting stripe, or a camouflage gray if you decide you want to go online and hide out from the competition. I do not have my Ford GT maxed out on all the upgrades. I found I wanted good braking with a little bit of control for some slides, and by reducing the speed below the max, I do get a better control, I figure. It is not possible in the game to remove upgrades if you decide you do not like them, so I've decided to hold this car here, hopefully by not accidentally touching some wrong button while I'm playing this car. You'll notice the maximum yellow currency upgrade you can get for the speed is actually quite low for an A-class car. So is the maximum green currency on the acceleration and handling. You'll know, and if you go into your collection of full cars by hitting the window-like symbol in the top towards the left there, you'll be able to see what the current horsepower of your car is. B class there. My Ford GT is 629 horsepower. That will vary depending on the acceleration upgrade level. Then there are some cars, when you upgrade them, the horsepower actually goes in the opposite direction you expect. The horsepower goes down. So with some cars, getting an upgrade of acceleration does not actually help. It tends to make some of your cars worse. Now, I'm going to feature 3 races here. We're going into the open class, which means the AIs have access to every A-class car available in the game. There are only 4 races available here. I'm going to the second one, so the cars I'll be competing against won't have an awful lot of upgrades. I'm going to Heimstrecke. It's going to be a classic race, which means I just have to cross the finish line first to get the maximum payout of 8,300 coins there. This is a good track to learn how to drive a car on because it has a lot of gentle turns, decent runoffs. There is one turn you could actually try to cut to get an advantage on your competition. Do not try to cut the other corners because it is not faster on this track. So I'd like to take my car out here and I'll try to keep it on the track to show the wonderful handling of this car while not using any of the driving assist. So I'm going to start the race and be quiet for a bit. So there we have it at Heimstrecke. And you got to see some of the other A-class cars there. A bit of a slow first lap. It's 2 seconds slower than usual, perhaps by being blocked coming off of the grid. And we got a payout of 1,500 experience points for that race. And a little over 10,000, which is more than we expected due to all the bonuses which were for overtaking the competition. There might have been some perfect corners I would have gotten, and I got a 2% bonus for having done an online purchase for an additional mechanic at some point in the game. And there's my lap times. My best lap was a 1:34, which is actually a little bit slow for this car on this track. 1:34 1:31 is a fast lap for this car. There are some laps that can be a little bit faster than that. An average is probably around a 1:32 besides the first lap, which getting past all the other cars is a bit slow. So you can see for about 3 minutes you earn about 10,000. Let's go take a look at a race that pays out a little bit more. It's a little more challenging. I'm going to be going into the championship challenge, and I'll be competing against the 3 types of cars there on the left. I have to select my car again. This is going to be the 9th race out of the 12 available, so the competition will have a fair amount of upgrades. I'm going into Laguna Seca. This one pays out nominally 12,000 if you finish up front. This track is a little more challenging. It is narrow. It has some tougher corners. There are 3 corners you can actually cut to get advantage on the competition. One might be the corkscrew, where you can get a slight advantage. In the direction I'll be going, it'd be the last sharp corner. Going up to the corkscrew, you get a considerable advantage by cutting just a bit. And you can cut the last corner coming back onto the start-finish straight in this direction and get an advantage. However, if you do go off the track here, sometimes there is difficulty getting back on. There seems to be a ridge at the edge of the track between the track and the sand. This track has runoffs. It is a full racetrack. Hey, the trickiest part of this is getting around the competition. As you can see, I did a lot of bang into them, and I even bounced off the wall on at least one occasion. And it did take me a little while to get around them. And notice the XP payout there is 1870 for 2 laps. The coin payout is the maximum you can get with this car. It's almost 14,000. I wouldn't count on getting 14,000 if you were to do this race right away. It takes a while to get out, to get enough practice to get out in front. And I probably have a few more bonuses than usual there. The race time, the lap time at 1:21 is actually very good for this car, and you'll notice it's under 3 minutes to do the 2 laps. Let's go on to another race, which is a little different style than this. We're going to be going against just 4 GTs. We're going Barcelona King of the Hill. This is a different type of race. You get most points for being up front as long as you can in this race, and so does the AI cars. This is a street course, so it has walls along both sides of the full length of the track, and it nominally pays out 10,600. There are some shadows on this track, which makes it a little bit difficult. And it has a lot of right-angled turns with some high-speed sections that are separate. Let's go take a look. Nothing surprising coming out first in that race. It's usually fairly easy to do. It's just a matter of getting ahead of the competition, practicing a few times. The competition does not seem to do quite as well in most King of the Hills. Once you get ahead of them, it does not chase you down. Usually we go 1580 experience points. Say 12,000 in-game coins, which is a decent payout. It took a little over 3 minutes, about 200 seconds. So that's well, it would be. I'm going to keep it that way. Insist I upgrade my car. That's the Ford GT, a very good handling rear-wheel drive car, which you may want to get at its great price to practice driving a rear-wheel drive car in the game. So I'm going to call that a video. And if you want additional information, don't forget to check the notes down below.